Well, we're honoring, we're swearing in,
Understood. Thanks, Mike.
and then we're honoring Roland Munro.
Yeah.
We're kind of honoring him.
He doesn't have a book.
Hey guys,
Hello there.
Good evening.
how are you?
Oh, never met her. Remember the first player doesn't have a chance.
That's for the changes on Lincoln, where they from 200 to 60 for no parking. So this is a big addition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Lincoln right off of
He's
West.
just kind of
Here's the
autistic, some sort of deal.
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah.
He's still east of
About
South.
our age, right?
So the curves are down here.
And he comes to all these things. And he reads, actually he's smarter than he appears, but he's just kind of globbed on me a little bit. Then I bring him right home.
Good.
Very narrow.
Exactly.
Plan on seeing you Thursday.
I know. Yes. Good idea.
Okay. She's actually, he's quite the ladies' boss.
Pastor Dan, would you mind giving the invocation?
Thank you, Mayor Miller. I'd like to read Jeremiah 29:7. Seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. I pray today that every city leader is equipped. I pray for wisdom in every situation. I pray that citizens are inspired to rise up and have a positive effect in this city. I declare a special blessing over new city leaders. I bless every family. I declare peace in time of transition. I declare wisdom to prioritize all that is to be done and to gain momentum within it. I also bless every agenda item tonight, and I speak words of life to build up and never to tear down. I pray all this in Jesus' name.
Okay, now that it's 6 o'clock, we'll officially call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Alderpersons Ross,
Here.
Smith, absent,
Actually, I'm
Busker.
sorry, Debbie. He called me earlier and said he wasn't going to be able to attend.
Do that, okay. Busker,
Here.
Brashaw,
Here.
Keister, Chesney,
Here.
Clem,
Here.
and McClanathan.
Here.
Thank you. Alderman Ross, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the approval of the agenda. However, we will be pulling item number 14. So is there a motion for the approval of the agenda minus number 14?
So moved. Second.
That was made by Alderman Chesney.
No.
No? Alderman Busker, sorry.
Busker.
Seconded by Alderman Keister. All those in favor of the approval of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next is the approval of the minutes for October 16, 2017.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if we could, before we get too far in, I really think with enlighten of everything that's gone on in Rockford, maybe Chief Barkalow could mention a little bit about it, but a moment of silence for their brothers that they've lost, for their brother that they lost.
Chief, would that be okay?
That'd be fine. Thank you for the opportunity. Of course, it's been difficult for, for all law enforcement, but all public safety. We remember Officer Jamie Cox and his family in our prayers. He was killed in the line of duty Sunday morning. It really just kind of, it's a stark reminder that things like this happen each and every time, whether it's police or fire. Each time we put on this uniform and put on the badge, we realize that it's an inherent danger, an inherent risk that we take. We're not looking for, pats on the back or anything like that. But it's obviously it's a reminder that these things do happen. They happen close to home. The visitation for Officer Cox will be held Friday, November 10th. This information just come out on Friday, November 10th at First Free Evangelical Church on North Mulford Road in Rockford from 3 to 9. And then the police funeral service will begin at 10 a.m. on Saturday, also at the same church in Rockford. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, second on the agenda is the approval of minutes for October 16th, 2017. Is there a motion for approval?
So move. Second it.
We have a motion made by Alderman Keister, seconded by Alderman Ross for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Next is public comment. Andrew Crutchfield, you have something that's not an agenda item. Were you intent on staying for the whole meeting? Okay. And Rhonda, were you going to stay for yours at the end? Because yours isn't either. No, leave it go? Okay, thank you. Okay, then next is the consent agenda, and all of the consent agenda is considered to be as one motion unless there's a council member that would like to have something removed for further discussion. Seeing nothing, then we will move on to the consent agenda for the approval to receive and place on file the minutes from the 3rd Ward Town Hall meeting on October 12, 2017, the minutes from the strategic planning session on October 13th and 14th, employment agreement for Director of Public Works Dennis Carr, the City of Freeport's Fire Department incident and loss report for September 2017, the City of Freeport Ambulance Activity Report for September 2017, the City of Freeport Police Department report activities for July, August, and September 2017, building permits for October 2017, the approval of water and sewer bills payable in the amount of $730,105.89, the approval of finance bills payable in the amount of $788,556.95, the approval of payroll for payroll ending in October 17th, 2017, with a total of $449,112.81, and the approval of payroll ending October 28th, 2017, in the amount of $455,483.12. Is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Alderperson Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Keister. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the approval of the consent agenda?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next is item number 5, which is the recognition of Roland Munda, the Board of Fire and Police Commission, and that will be presented by our chiefs and Brian Borger.
I was asked to say a few things tonight. I'm not sure what to say. served with Police and Fire Commission with Mr. Monday. I have learned so much. Boy, I didn't get like this. He was an inspiration to the whole commission. He had a sense of humor that he brought with him. He brought just wisdom beyond belief. We would have conversations about different candidates or different promotions or different things. And, you know, we'd be in conversation and all of a sudden, out of the blue, there he'd be with these words. And it just changed the whole atmosphere of the meeting. He served with honor in the commission. I know he was a firefighter for a number of years. We have a number of things we're going to present you tonight. And Mr. Munden, why don't you come on up?
I really don't need this, but.
He's had a problem. We brought the,
I thank those guys more than anything. Because I know what it's like.
Mr. Munden, we'd like to honor you tonight for your years on the fire department as well as police and fire commission. And I'll turn it over to the Chief Miller.
Thank you. As Chairman Morgan indicated, that Mr. Munda here is, you know, just a real nice person, stand-up guy, knew exactly what his role was and did it to the best of his ability, which was remarkable. But all those adjectives and things that describing him, he learned all those things being on the fire department. So, that explains a lot. But anyhow, as we talked about, we'd like to recognize Mr. Monday here this evening, and I had to do some quick math, but today I realized that Mr. Monday did 21 years on the fire department, retired as a captain, so I'm gonna call you captain now instead of Mr. And then also 13 years of service in the Fire and Police Commission. So that's 34 years of service to the community here in Freeport, and that's something to be proud of. So the fire department wants to present to you the certificate of recognition. States that the certificate is awarded to Roland R. Munda, awarded for 34 years of dedication and public service to the city of Freeport. Thank you for your service to the Freeport Fire Department and the Freeport Fire and Police Commission. Dated October 24th to 27th. And thank you for your service.
Shirley, come up here.
My lovely bride at 62 years. It'll shape up next year and all.
Hey, Roland, that's, you know, you've been so much in the community, started in 1966 when you were sworn in. And you took that oath to serve the community. You continue to do that with honor. I'm so proud to have been served with you. You continue to serve that 51 years later, you took that oath. For the past 13, like Chief said, you've been commissioner, but think about how you've impacted our departments in the city. You've impacted departments by hiring and promoting, and that's gonna last 30 years down the road. We're still gonna have people promoted and hired by you. This is something we wanna give you. This is Roland Munda, an appreciation and recognition for your loyal and dedicated service to the Board of Fire and Police Commission, but most importantly, the city of Freeport. Roland Munda.
Thank you, Chief.
I'd just like to acknowledge as well that Rollins' two sons are here tonight and their families as well in attendance tonight. So
Why,
thank you.
why you mentioned it, why doesn't everyone stand up? It's related. Come on. Do we have to Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you especially to the fellows from the fire department. Appreciate you coming out on your, maybe some of you don't have a day off, but if you do, I know how it is. And along with it, talking about the incident in Rockford yesterday, or Sunday, and the shootings in Texas. I used to tell my guys, like the Coast Guard, you gotta go off, but you don't gotta come back. Keep yourself safe. Thank you.
Okay, next is item number 6, which will be the oath of office for our new Fire Chief, Todd Allen.
So, Todd, would you join me up here? It's my pleasure. This is an important occasion to swear in the new fire chief. He actually has representatives from around the country that are colleagues of his that have joined him here for this swearing in. This was done after an extensive search. We had 28 candidates apply. We narrowed those down to 8, did semi-final interviews, and then did a final interview with the final 3, and Todd shown out. We had, in that participation, Brian was involved with it, Brian Borger. We had representation from the union, and as well as Chief Miller and myself doing that interview. And it was a pleasure. We selected Todd. So with that, Todd arrived last week, but I'd like to go ahead and give him the oath. So go ahead and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Todd Allen,
Have been appointed as the fire chief
I have been appointed as the fire chief
in the city of Freeport,
in the city of Freeport,
in the county of Stevenson.
in the county of Stevenson.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my appointment
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my appointment
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Todd.
Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor, Council, Lowell, I appreciate the support, the confidence that you've placed in me to be part of this community, to lead the fire department, the men and women there that have a great reputation. That reputation preceded them, and when this opportunity came available, it was very easy to say, that's the place I want to be. So I appreciate that. 130 years of tradition with this fire department, and you know, as we look at the history, we look at the traditions that have went before us, we look to the future and we say, where do we go? The community is continuing to evolve, and as a Freeport Fire Department, we want to be part of that evolution of the city, to represent the city well, and to continue as the fire service practices continue to evolve and medical procedures. We want to be on the forefront of that, and that only helps our community and the health and wellness that goes along with that. And when incidents arise that we have to be aggressive and go get people, I think they've proven they can do that, and we're going to continue to make sure that the residents here are safe. So I want to thank everybody for the turnout here. Thank my colleagues here. On the end, there's Kyle Minnick. He's from North Charleston, South Carolina. Joe Knitter from South Milwaukee. And Jeremy Moore from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. So I appreciate you guys making the trip and coming out. Also, if I could real quick, I recognize my support system, my wife Heather on the end, and my son Cameron, and then my mom made the trip up here, Donna. So appreciate them and everything they've done for me as well. But again, thank you, and excited to get started and get underway. So.
Okay, next on the agenda is the appointments for the boards and commissions, and we will vote on these all in one unless there's a council member that would like to have something separated. Seeing that, Madam Clerk, could you please read this into the record?
Acceptance of an appointment of Adam Holder to the Planning Commission to fill the term vacated by Tim Davenport, effective immediately through October 31st, 2020. Acceptance of appointment of Blake Closa to the Board of Zoning Appeals Commission, effective immediately through June 30th, 2022. He will replace Harry Carlisle, whose term expired on June 30th, 2017. Acceptance of an appointment of Andrew J. Reeder to the Board of Zoning Appeals Commission, effective immediately through June 30th, 2021. He will replace Casey Myers, whose term expired on June 30th, 2016.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Clem, seconded by Alderman Busker for the approval of these nominations. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on this acceptance?
Ross.
Aye.
Excuse me, Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Approved 7-0.
Thank you. Next is the second reading of ordinance 2017-66. Madam Clerk, could you please read this into the record?
Revised ordinance amending Part 16 Fire Prevention Code, Chapter 1630 Miscellaneous Regulations, Chapter 1630.06 Fireworks of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Freeport.
Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan.
at this time I'd make a motion to table ordinance 2017-66. As we've looked through this, we've seen, I think there are some more enforcement mechanisms that are available to the various entities, and I'd like to see how those are implemented. Obviously, we can always revisit this down the road.
Okay, Madam Clerk, the terminology you're looking for is postponed indefinitely.
Can I put words in your mouth and say postpone indefinitely?
Definitely moved, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Brashaw for the postponement of ordinance 2017-66. Madam Clerk, could you take the roll on this?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 9 is the second reading of ordinance 2017-73. Could you please read this for the record?
An ordinance amending Part 10, Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code, Title 6, Other Public Services, Chapter 1060, Garbage and Rubbish Collection and Disposal, Section 1060.19, Discontinuance of Service of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Freeport.
Manager Crowe, is there something additional you'd like to add to this?
No, ma'am. This is pretty straightforward, just cleaning up some language and removing the Water and Sewer Commission from the ordinance.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you take the roll on the passage of ordinance 2017-73?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, on to item number 10 is the first reading of ordinance 2017-74. Could you read this to the record, please?
An ordinance of the City of Freeport approving and authorizing the city to enter into an addendum amendment to master tax exempt lease purchase agreement, property schedule number 3, and related documents thereto with U.S. Bancorp Government Leasing and Financing Incorporated regarding camera truck.
Thank you. Finance Director.
Thank you, Your Honor. What we're proposing tonight is to amend the current master lease agreement we have with U.S. Bank to include a lease for a camera, also known as TV lamp inspection truck. This vehicle will be used to inspect the sanitary and storm sewer lines that we have in the city. You have before you the draft lease. The final version will be ready for the second reading. Two changes that are not reflected in the draft lease are the transition is bank qualified and the payment to the vendor will be directly from U.S. Bank. We're proposing a 7-year lease. The amount of the lease to be financed is $437,229. The interest rate is 2.15%. There will be 4 quarterly payments of $16,862.58. We're purchasing the equipment from EJ Equipment from Manteno, Illinois. And as of today, I don't have a delivery date, but we will not close on the lease until we have a more firm date on the closing.
Questions for the Finance Director?
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. Director, and you mentioned the 4 quarterly payments, and if I recall correctly, didn't U.S. Bank give us 2 options, and the quarterly payments was slightly the cheaper of the 2 options?
We're looking at a 5-year and a 7-year lease, and we opted for the 7-year.
It was, you may be looking at the Vector truck was the 2 different options.
Okay.
Motion to move forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Clem, seconded by Alderman Keister to move ordinance 2017-74 onto the next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council. Item number 11 is the first reading of ordinance 2017-75. Madam Clerk, could you please read this for the record?
An ordinance amending Section 220.11 of the codified ordinances of the City of Freeport regarding council committees to create a new committee to be known as the City Manager Recruitment Committee.
Alderman Chesney.
Thank you, Mayor. This is largely a housekeeping item, Council. If you remember, several months ago, we crafted a ordinance that offered some guidance for the Transition Committee. So the listening public and those viewing the audience were very happy with Lowell, so this is a housekeeping item only. This isn't anything more than that. The only other item I would direct your attention to that wasn't worked out during the Transition Committee was who was going to give this city manager review. The way the ordinance reads, it will be the alderman at large and the most senior alderman on the council, and then also reviewed and signed off by the mayor. As everyone in the council is aware, in addition to that, we also discuss all of this in executive session as permitted by law. So unless there's any questions from the council, I would recommend a motion to move it forward.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Clem, seconded by Alderman Busker, to move ordinance 2017-75 to the second reading on the next City Council meeting. Item number 12 is the first reading of ordinance 2017-75. Madam Clerk, could you read this into the record?
An ordinance amending Section 480.11 prohibited parking streets of the codified ordinances of the City of Freeport.
And actually, that's 76, not 75. Director Dole.
Good evening. You should have before you the language that explains this parking problem we've been having, and possibly on a photograph, which would be very helpful. This is a request from the Lincoln Square building at the corner of Lincoln and West Avenue. There currently is no parking restriction on the south side of Lincoln, east of West Avenue, a 200-foot span from West Avenue east. All I need to do is gain another 60 feet, which lands us between 2 driveways. Currently, there's a car that parks there right between these 2 driveways, and the curb line that this car is parking is only 14 feet wide, so it's really not even a good enough parking stall. So I just need to gain 60 feet there and push the no parking to make it easier to come out of that commercial parking lot, and it's a very narrow street there where the lanes kind of move over. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You should have the pictures of the diagram in front of you as well.
Mayor,
Alderman Bradshaw.
thank you. And how will you take this no parking? Will you paint the curb? Will you put up more signage?
Currently, there's, at 200 feet, there's already a sign that says no parking here to corner. There's also a neighborhood watch sign on that same post. So we'll just take that same sign and move it 60 feet east. So it'll say no parking here to corner for the 260-foot span. So yes, there will be a sign and a yellow curb probably in the spring when it's better to paint the curb, but we'll move the sign immediately.
Okay,
Or when the ordinance passes.
thank you.
Mayor.
Alderman Keister.
Yeah, having driven this area about every day, I see the need for it. That is a narrow area to try and get through, and if there is any cars there, it does make it more difficult to do. So I would like to make a motion to approve this and move it forward.
Second. Mayor?
Alderman Chesney.
Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was just gonna ask if the time frame and freezing ground and that kind of stuff, do you wanna suspend the rules, or?
That's really not necessarily necessary to do it. We can get the sleeve in the ground anytime, but that's up to you folks.
That was my question.
I'm sure the request from the Lincoln Square building would appreciate it sooner than later, but that's up to you.
Motion
Motion
to
to suspend.
suspend.
We're on the same
second
page
it.
tonight, aren't we?
I'll second it.
All right.
Okay, so we have before you a motion made by Alderman Keister, seconded by Alderman Busker to move this ordinance forward, and then a motion made by Alderman Chesney, seconded by Alderman Clem for suspension of the rules. The suspension of the rules is non-debatable and must pass by a 2/3 majority. So, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the suspension of the rules only?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McLanathan.
Aye.
That passes 7-0.
Okay, so now before you is the final passage of ordinance 2017-76. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you take the roll on this passage?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McLanathan.
Aye.
And the ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 13 is the adoption of Resolution 2017-58. Could you please read this into the record?
Resolution supporting the Freeport Park District's application to the Illinois Department of Transportation's Transportation Enhancement Program, or ITEP, grant program for construction of Phase 3 of the Pecatonica Prairie Trail.
Manager Crowe.
So where we're at on the Pecatonica Trail is we are currently waiting for the awarding of Phase 2, which is our last phase in Ward 3. It is currently being under reviewed. When that would complete, Phase 2 would take it up to the city limits. This will then, Phase 3 will take an additional 4 miles as well as address 4 bridge issues on the Pecatonica Prairie Trail. There's a limited window to apply to this for this grant. Application would be here by the end of November. The Park District is sponsoring this. It would go out and be awarded sometime in the spring. We don't expect the work to actually start for another 2.5 years after that point. When it starts, when it's finally awarded, our portion of this Pecatonica Trail would be $133,000. So we would be able to work that into the budget out there. This is strictly a resolution in support of the Park District seeking the next $2 million. The goal is under Phase 4, complete the trail, which would then connect it clear from Rockford up to the Jane Addams Trail, and which the Jane Addams then goes into Madison. And it'll be placed on as one of the premier riding paths in the state of Illinois.
Mayor?
Alderman Chesney.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Chesney, seconded by Alderman Busker for the approval of Resolution 2017-58. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw?
thank you. Manager Crowe, I was looking at this. Our first payment would be due in approximately 2 to 3 years. Is that so?
It would be, our payment would be due after it's awarded in contract. I will tell you, the current one was awarded we were given the grant in 2014, and we're just now getting it out to bid. It's considered a federal contract, so those federal contracts typically take 2 to 3 years to award them.
Sir, follow up on this, Mayor, I'm sorry. Are we looking to budget this over the next couple of years so we have all the money in hand, or are we looking to finance this somehow when it's actually due?
Well, we're going to be putting this in the budget over the next, I'm just now working on the budget memo, and that's included with Director Bucas, and that's actually in our plan to go forward on this, to budget it, so we set the money aside over the next couple years.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the passage of Resolution 2017-58?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
It's adopted 7-0.
Item number 15 is the approval of the citywide street assessment bid. Manager Crowe.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I went out for bids with both Fairgram and Will Hoffman to do a complete citywide street assessment. The expected time to do the assessment is 6 weeks. Fairgram came in as a low bidder at $17,500. There was, Will Hoffman was at $60,000. The reason is, talking with Fairgram, the big difference is that Fairgram has a lot of the information doing already in their database. This will then be put into our GIS bank, so then we can determine which are the best roads to replace along with the water mains. This will be paid out of that fund that we had established to do road work out of the general fund. This will allow us to identify the worst roads in the city in conjunction with the worst water mains, so we're doing the work at the same time.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Chesney, second by Alderman Brashaw. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you take the roll on the approval of the citywide street assessment bid?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 16 is approval of equipment bid. Director Kopansky.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. With the city, we have 2 sewer combination trucks, which have been in use since 1991 as well as 2002. The 1991 model, it serves real no purpose anymore based on it just doesn't work. There's too much in the amount of repairs that need to be done. So previously, it's been looked at to go and get a replacement part. I came in on the tail end and have reviewed, and with water and sewer staff, we've provided an option, a request to go with a Aquatech combination truck from R-Now out of West Allis, Wisconsin. This is a demo unit that has about 50 hours on it, so we're getting an almost new one with at a $15,000 reduction of what a new one would cost. And we're looking to go and have it leased over a period of 7 years, and this will assist us in our I&I, our inflow and infiltration program, of assessing and documenting the inflow and infiltration that happens through our pipes to our water reclamation plant.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman Keister.
Just for some quick clarification, since we're leasing this, the maintenance on this vehicle, even though it's a used vehicle, is that part of the lease or is that something we're responsible for?
Let's see, we'll have a maintenance contract with the firm to perform maintenance on it.
Okay, and that, excuse me, follow up, Mayor?
Yes.
That is included in this cost or is that an additional cost to what we're seeing here?
It's the bottom line price. It's included in it.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Clem.
Sure. Tom, this is a truck, just more or less to follow up for the listening audience. This is a truck that's been discussed and been in need for a number of years. It isn't something that just all of a sudden has come up. You know, so like you've said, it's been planned out, you spec'd it, and you've gone the best route as far as leasing and that kind of stuff on it, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Just, you know, when they're spending that kind of bucks, they'll say, you know, everybody's gonna say, well, why couldn't we have done this or this? And I know Tom Glendenning had been looking into this for a period of time before he left, but thank you guys for continuing on and getting everything ready.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Alderman Bradshaw.
Thank you. And for the listening public also, we covered this, that these Vector trucks come with a training program with the purchase. Is that correct?
Yes, there will be an amount of training in the operation.
So even though it's a demo, they're not going to discount the training?
Well, I didn't think of that, so that'll be something I'll follow up with.
I hope so. Thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman Chesney.
Thank you. Director, question for you on the truck. Are you still of the opinion that it's, that we would need 2 trucks, or given the advancements in the single truck, do you think we would be able to bring it down to one more, I guess, updated truck rather than 2 very dated trucks?
Let's see, I feel that we need to have 2 trucks, and once we get the new one in, there's a number of repairs that need to be done on the other, and when you have the program that we're looking to put in place to assess and identify all the inflow and infiltration through our 100-plus miles of sanitary main, plus another 100-plus miles of stormwater main. Those trucks will be on the street spring, summer, fall, and some occasions, you know, during the dead of winter. So we do need to have, you know, 2 trucks up and operating. And I've identified in the plan that we'll start after the TV truck and the vac truck come on out to where that's what I'm going to have a crew of 3 to 4 guys doing to identify and document our underground infrastructure for the sanitary sewer and storm sewer.
Mayor?
Alderman Keister.
Yeah, just one final question, and you may have said it and I may have missed it. Are you requesting option 1 or option 2 on this?
The options are the lease options, and I'll be going over those when we on the next agenda item. So.
Number 17.
Oh, okay, I missed that. Okay, well, I'd make a motion to approve then.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Keister, seconded by Alderman Clem for the approval of the equipment bid. Is there further discussion?
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. As Alderman Clement alluded to, when we have been going through the planning for water and sewer, there were a couple large ticket items. We got the camera truck and the Vector truck. Does that largely put you in regards to the big ticket items where you need to be? And then moving forward, we're going to look at some of the other implementation of the of basically the long-term planning for water and sewer?
Yes, that's correct. That's for our rolling stock, our rolling assets. The next part of the capital improvement plan purchases, repairs will be water main and wells, treatment plants.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Alderman Ross.
The Vector truck you're speaking about, or the Vector trucks you're speaking about, who uses the truck? Is that sewer or water?
Sewer for the most part, but then the water side also can utilize it to hydro excavate small certain areas, rather than coming in with a backhoe and just moving a lot of earth.
Follow up. How often do they use these trucks?
Let's see. The trucks are out 4 days a week or better, when they are focusing on the investigation, but then also what the crews go and do is that on a quarterly, twice a year, and annual, they will go and jet or take care of problematic areas within the city. But then when, just this past weekend, we had 2 emergency calls on sewer blocks. So the trucks went out and, you know, they were available to take care of what we needed to take care of.
So the trucks, we all would know that they're a necessity, but they'll be very handy, in other words.
They perform many tasks for us, both on water and sewer.
Thank you.
Chair.
Alderman Chesney.
Thank you. Tom, what do smaller municipalities do for Vector trucks? Do they lease these, or what, do the smaller municipalities have $500,000 trucks, or what's common practice amongst the smaller
Well, there's,
utilities?
let's see, there's some communities that will farm it out to a contractor.
Okay.
That has that, which you may not have a large expenditure at one time, but over time, it probably will meet or exceed, you know, the cost of purchasing the equipment. And in, the other way is to go and just, you know, purchase the item. You know, city, you know, I'm from Tinley Park, but Hazel Crest, which is probably 15,000 people, and they have 2 of these vehicles as well.
Alderman Chesney, when I was at Monmouth, we leased it out from a local vendor at $26,000 a day. A day.
Mayor.
Alderman Ross.
Say a community like Shannon, will we be able to, if they wanted to go into their sewer system, we'll be able to lease it out to them?
Let's see, there's, and I can only refer to how it was in Tinley, is that we sort of had, similar to like a MAVIS, a mutual agreement. IP man. What's that? IP man. IP man? For Public Works. Okay. To where we would, if our truck was in for servicing, we'd be able to utilize theirs. Or when theirs was in for servicing, they'd be able to utilize ours, mutual aid.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the approval of the equipment bid?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the financing bid for the lease of the Vector truck. Manager Crowe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I went out with requests for bids and got 4 bids from U.S. Bank, Citizen State Bank, and and one other local bank, as well as Tax Exempt Leasing Corporation. Citizens Bank came in at, or correction, U.S. Bank Corp came in at the cheapest rate. They gave us 2 options. Citizens State gave us the first option was option 1, which is 2.37%. Citizen State Bank was the next at 2.39%, or option 2, which is 2.31%. We are proposing to go, option 2 splits the payments over 4 payments and gives us 2.31% interest payback, and that's for an 84-month term. That's what our recommendation is going forward with this.
Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
I'd like to make a recommendation to choose option 2 at the 2.31% rate.
So that's a motion?
Motion, yes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Keister for the approval of the finance bid for the lease of the Vector truck on option 2. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Alderman Keister.
just real quickly for the people at home who don't have the paperwork in front of you, by choosing option 2, if I read this correctly, it saves us approximately $4,040 over the term of this, if that's correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, could you take the roll on the passage of this approval?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
McClanathan.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 18 is approval of Brian Converse of Willett Hoffman and Associates as the project manager of the city of Freeport for bridge structures. Manager Crow.
Yes. This is a shifting. I'm shifting I'm going to propose the recommendation of shifting our bridge inspections from McClure to Willett Hoffman. McClure has gone through a consolidation with Misman. They currently have moved all their bridge operations to Moline. And we have had some issues with responsiveness. I think Director McDonald will agree with me on that as we've gone forward. Will Hoffman's been very responsive and with us in dealing with the submission of some other paperwork dealing with the bridges. They have a local office. Their bridge office is based out of Dixon, and that's right where District 2 is as well. I believe that this will be a better overall move for the city and have a more responsive contractor for future bridge bids. Excuse me.
Madam Mayor,
It's easy for you to say.
Alderman Clem.
motion to move item 18 forward.
Second.
Okay, we have the motion made by Alderman Clem, seconded by Alderman Busker for the approval of Brian Converse. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on this passage?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
And McClanathan.
Aye.
7-0.
Okay, item number 19 is the demolition of 10 residential properties, CD 008-17. Director McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a bid opening for CD-008-17, demolition of 10 residential properties. With going with the individual awards, we are recommending that G&G Construction be awarded $34,400, Kleckner Excavating be awarded $28,600, and Intrac Group LLC be awarded $14,812. By making individual awards, we're looking at a savings of $7,288.
Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw.
thank you. I was so glad to see you went cherry picking. When I read this, I was just like all gleeful, thinking, you know, that you really stepped it up this time and made those efforts to go through them all. I'm sure it's a little discouraging for some of the companies that would like to have the total bid, but we are using taxpayer money, whether it's grant money or whether it's our local money, to tear these buildings down, and we need to save every penny we can, so thank you. And I think Alderman Busker had some words on this as well.
Yeah, Madam Mayor?
Alderman Busker.
Yeah, you know, it's nice seeing these every meeting we're getting. It's almost like Christmas, seeing 10 demos every month. I like it. So with that said, I make a motion to approve this.
I second that.
Mayor.
Alderman Chesney.
Director, where's this put us for the year?
Well, with these, we'll be at about 65, and we have another bid package out, so we expect that to be 75. And I happen to be meeting with our nonprofit partner, NICA, on our blight reduction program round 2 tomorrow to find out where they're at with their demos. So that 80 demos this year should be an easily attainable goal.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. When you were going through the numbers there, was that awarding the tie bid on 1102 South Fruit to Kleckner then to get to that total?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And just so clarification, I talked with Attorney Cox before we awarded this, and he recommended going forward and contacting both companies. And G&G Construction, literally, when we said, how would you like to handle it? Because the recommendation from the state bid was we just flip a coin. And G&G said, just give it to Kluckner.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Brashaw for the demolition of the 10 residential properties as proposed by Director McDonald.
Mayor?
Yes,
One quick question.
sure.
Director McDonald, on the demos, I see Mr. Crutchfield's here. I want to talk a little bit about the building that's next to him on Adams. Do we have any update on that?
I do not, but I will check into it for you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on item number 19 with the demolition, please?
Ross.
Aye.
Smith is absent. Busker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Keister.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Clem.
Aye.
And McClanathan.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next is reports of department heads. Finance.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a reminder that the auditors will be here on November 20th to present the final audit. We're anticipating receiving that report this Thursday, and the October finance report will also be on November 20th agenda. Thank you.
And just a correction on that, the audit report was received about 15 minutes before we walked into the council meeting.
They promised by Thursday.
Any questions for finance? Seeing none, community development.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a busy time in community and economic development. It seems like we have a lot of reports that are due at the same time, and we're also closing several grants, but we're also starting a new grant cycle, so that'll mean that we'll be reapplying for a lot of different programs that maybe we've received funding through before. One of them is the Abandoned Properties Program, which you may know that the first year we received $25,000. Last year we received $71,000. I suggested to Ida that they just give us all the money, then they want to have the headaches of having to report on or monitor quite a few grantees, but I don't know if that's going to work. But I'm hoping that we'll receive even more funding this next year, so that'll be a nice addition to our demolitions.
Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. When do you get a response on that grant?
It's due December 1st, and we'll probably hear maybe February, March.
Plenty of time to incorporate into the next budget cycle?
Sure, absolutely.
Any more questions for community development? Seeing none, Public Works.
I have nothing.
Okay, does anybody want to shoot a question over there?
I did want to introduce the council to our Dennis Carr. He's just a new engineer / public works director. We are going to do some reorganization. We're going to be the director of streets will be Tom Dole, and then Tom Kapansky will still be the director of water and sewer. And then he'll be moving in as public works director / engineer. He comes from us. He's coming from Hanson Construction, has his undergraduate and master's in civil engineering. He's a PE, state of Illinois, and has worked previously in Mason County.
Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw.
Thank you. Manager Crowe, will this gentleman also take part in the citywide street assessment? Will he follow them around so he kind of gets to know the field?
I have not discussed that with him, but I can make that happen.
Sir, I was just a suggestion, only
No,
because it would be great for him to get out there and see the shape of some of our streets.
And I didn't mean that.
Okay, let's move on. Fire.
Welcome, Dennis.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you all know, October is Fire Prevention Month, and with October, it means our annual school visits to the grade schools. Each year, we educate more than 2,000 grade school children of both public and private schools. We give them instruction at their schools, and they take that knowledge back to their siblings, their parents, and oftentimes it's the children that are the lead fire safety people within their family, so we appreciate that. They enjoy the instruction from the firefighters, as well as the fire department enjoys giving that instruction. So, as you can imagine, it's quite a task to schedule all the grade schools, all the children that we see. It's quite a task, but we are winding that program down. Now, yes, it's November, but we had to reschedule some schools that had other prior commitments. So it's winding down within this next week here, and that concludes my report.
Mayor?
Alderman Keister.
Yes, couple things real quickly. First of all, I want the public to understand too, having done a lot of these classes in the past, the firefighters that do it are also on duty, so there are times when the classes have to be rescheduled because they went out on a call and was unable to complete the class, so I need to keep that in mind. And Chief, just one other subject I want to bring up on this. Now, this is before your time, but I know there have been a number of incidences in the past where children have gotten out of the house or saved their sibling because of the training that they received in these classes. I guess my recommendation or suggestion on that is if we have any of those stories again, that we need to get some publicity on that and recognize them for what they did.
I agree with that. That's an excellent idea. Thank you.
Any further questions for fire? Seeing none. Chief Barkalow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to give an update. Last Saturday, despite the cold and rainy weather, we had our Justice for All flag football game with the high school kids and department members. Went off very successful. I think we gave away 1,000 brats and hot dogs, free hot dogs. So that worked out well. I doubt that there was 1,000 people there, but somebody probably could have ate too. Also, this Saturday, along with before attending the funeral, we're going to be having our new officer testing this Saturday. Orientation begins at 8:30, and it'll be at the Freeport Middle School. So we'll soon have a new eligibility list before too long. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for
Mayor?
Alderman Ross?
Yes, Chief Barkalow, who won the game?
They were all winners. And they played several different little games on that. So it worked out well because the officers intermixed between the players. So it was a lot of fun.
Good deal.
Nobody got hurt that I know of yet.
You know, I'd just like to say thank you to both of your departments, fire and police, because, you know, as you guys are out there with the younger people and building those relationships, and they see you guys as positive role models, I think that'll just be a better thing as the years go by, that it maybe can get rid of some of these issues that we have today with our teens, that in the years to come, they'll know that you guys are the real deal and your positive roles.
Good, thank you.
So thank you.
Hopefully, yeah.
Water and sewer.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll give you an update since the last meeting that we had on the well project. 2 weeks ago, I met with a representative from Fairgram, drove throughout the city looking at specific parcels for our wells, got a list of about 5. Last week, it was put through the hydraulic model. I was there with them and saw the output, and there were like 4 viable sites. And now Manager Crow, Director Carr, and I are working through the process to bring it to a point for bidding, probably sometime in December, and Manager Crow may have additional information for you. Or is that about it?
No, so we went out and we met today with the owner of the first site. We began negotiations with those. I will bring those back to council before we're approved. So we're looking at we're going in priority of the sites we're looking at as this one site the first site we're looking at will address both high and low zone.
Do we have questions for water and sewer?
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Busker.
Yeah, did we look out of any of those 4 options being city-owned property already, or?
The number 2 site is city-owned.
Okay, Manager Crowe, your report.
So, a couple things to report. Tonight, the library board is going through the candidates to determine their finalists for the new library director. We currently, the HR manager's over there attending that meeting so that she'll be able to report back to us. They expect to start the interviews in the next couple weeks. Eric he's gone through the inputs back from everybody on the strategic plan. He will be presenting the final draft at the COW next week. He will be forwarding that to me either tomorrow or Wednesday, which then I will forward that out to you. Went down last week and attended the TIPS meeting, which is the airport meeting. We've re-racked based upon the guidance from both the state and looking at money. Just for everybody's information, one of the things that I did clear up is the road. We do not have to make any commitment on the road putting in until the July time frame. That's when we have to commit in. So I've asked for them to come in and give a presentation to council at the December COW as to why the Airport Commission feels that may be important. That it will cost us $110,000, so that and then that'll give you, the council, the opportunity at time to change that and put that in the budget. We will be closed on the 10th in support of Veterans Day. There are Veterans Days events going on at the school system on the 10th that both the mayor and I will be participating in. And the last thing is the Mistletoe Walk and Ride is on the 18th.
Thank you. So since it's been a few weeks since we've met, I'd just like to acknowledge the many volunteers that we've had in recent events and applaud their efforts. We had our first successful annual Halloween parade, and we had an absolutely overwhelming amount of people that were in attendance for that on a really cold evening. So, and we also had our Bootyful Saturday, which is an event for children in the downtown for trick-or-treating, and we had a little over 500 children that participated in that. And those things don't get pulled off without volunteers, so I just wanted to thank the volunteers on that, and also thank all those that were involved in the event that was Saturday night, which was the Rockabilly event for the downtown development, and there were 300 in attendance at that, at the new event center called the Grand River Hall. And also along with Chief Barkelow's moment of silence, I'd just like to say on behalf of the entire city that I'd like to express our sincerest condolences to the family of Jamie Cox as well. Alderman Ross.
Nothing at this time.
Alderman Busker.
Nothing this evening.
Alderman Brashaw.
Nothing this evening.
All right, Alderman Keister.
Very quickly. One quick item. Out at the airport about 2 weeks ago, we had our annual mail run, which was delayed a week due to weather. We had 6 planes participating, and for those that don't know what that is, mail run is a scavenger hunt with airplanes in the sky. You're given a route, and you have to plan it by hand. You cannot use any modern navigational devices, and the person that comes in closest to their projected time wins. They threw a new twist to it this year. Not only do you have to project your time, you also have to project how much fuel you use. And the winner is based on that. So it was very successful, and hopefully that we can continue growing that in the next couple of years. I believe this is our 3rd or 4th this year.
Thank you. Alderman Chesney.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Alderman Clem.
I'd just like to elaborate a little bit on what Manager Crowe mentioned. Please keep in mind this weekend is, this Saturday is Veterans Day, where we honor the veterans who have given us the peace and the ability to do all the things that we do that are free. Keep them in mind. Make sure if you see one, say thank you to them. And I know Lowell on his day off gets to speak to about four groups, right, or 3. But yeah. But there's a lot of great things that the high school, Blackhawk School, and some of the others are doing. But if you think of it this weekend, think of that.
Thank you. Alderman McClanathan.
You've all covered it well. Nothing further to add.
All right, next would be public comments. Tommy?
I want to tell you, Joey Miller, I went to the Losu and I had the anniversary I've been there for 14 years at Losu Heating.
Well, good for you, Tommy.
And we all know why you didn't come, because they had Dunkin' Donuts for you.
Well, I didn't know it was happening.
Because Son Lang was looking for you.
Sorry, I didn't know you were doing it.
And Matt, you said that thing over by Old Farmer Free is going to be open February? Next February?
Next February.
That's why, Todd, next February, the pizza place is going to be open.
Okay.
And Joey Miller, don't forget to write that down. Next February, they're going to open.
All right, thank you. You remind me. Okay, Andrew.
Tom is always going to keep you guys in check, boy. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity. It's getting cold out. And with the cold, we know the holidays are coming. And every year, the city of Freeport helps me out. And so it's time again. It's time for us to, for our annual toy drive. Our annual toy drive is to benefit the children of the Amity Learning Center, as well as less fortunate kids throughout the city of Freeport. I've been fortunate to, it started, this is now my 8th year. It started off the first year where someone asked me to dress up as Santa and give out toys. And I said, no problem. Well, the next year, they said, well, we want you to dress up as Santa, but we don't have any toys. And I said, well, let's try to do a toy drive. So it has evolved, and now, you know, this is my 8th year. It's a lot of work, but it can't get done without the citizens of Freeport, so I'm gonna ask for your help again. It's gonna begin on November 10th, which is Veterans Day. Thank a vet. When you're out at those Veterans Day sales, remember a kid. November 10th through December 18th. The ages will be from infant to 14 years old. So we're gonna take toys from all those ages. Last year we were fortunate, we got some bikes, we gave away some bikes. Santa was very, very busy last year. And I'm just asking for the citizens of Freeport to just come out again and give us a helping hand if you can. Thank you.
Mayor.
And where do they take the toys to?
I'm sorry. See, I was so nervous I didn't remember to tell you all the good stuff. We're gonna have 5 Dropbox locations. One here, City Hall in the Water Department, the police station, and all 3 fire stations. There will be a Dropbox in each one of those locations. So you can drop them off any of those locations, or just get in touch with Chief Barkalaw. He'll tell you where to take them.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 25, which is the executive session. Madam Clerk, could you please read that into the record?
Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. Also pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees with action to follow on that item.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Was that Keister? Brashaw?
Both. Second.
All right. We have a motion made by Alderperson Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Keister. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on entering into the executive session?
Russ? Russ, aye. Aye or nay?
I didn't know I changed my name.
Smith is absent. Busker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Keister?
Aye.
Chesney?
Aye.
Clem?
Aye.
McClanathan?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
What's that?
Hey, we got Yeah. I'm looking at the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was looking at this right here. And I was like.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good, some of that.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. Yes, really an honor to have you here. Thank you. A lot of great momentum to build on. It is, yeah, really. Wonderful. Yeah, that's great. Love to see the support. You know, this is really overwhelming. It is. Walk in and see all this. Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's yeah. Bless you. It's great. Thank you. Thank you. High order. Try Jason. Right. Right. Only. Yeah. Not too bad. Oh yeah, won't know how to act.